When I asked what time the client dinner was, my boss said, "Oh, we had it yesterday." He smiled like I'd missed a flight he'd canceled himself. That's when I knew something was off. Not just sloppy scheduling, not just a miscommunication. He wanted me to miss it. It was a Tuesday night, mid-quarter, the kind of week where the whole account balance teetered on whether one client dinner went smoothly. I'd been prepping slides, digging into procurement reports, and even memorizing the CFO's hobbies, because that's what you do when the renewal on the line is worth millions. I thought I was part of the plan. I thought I was at the table. The thing about toxic bosses is that they never drop the mask all at once. Mine, let's call him Dale, was the type who cracked dad jokes on speakerphone with clients, told leadership that we're all one team, then pivoted the second your back was turned. In this case, the pivot was a neatly engineered setup. Move the dinner to Monday, leave me in the dark, then smile when I asked. He knew exactly how it would look in my file. Missed key event, poor communication, not client ready. A seed planted for a future performance review. I wanted to call him out, right there in the corridor, outside the elevators. I wanted to ask him why the hell I was busting my ass for an account he didn't even want me in the room for. But the smirk stopped me, not because it scared me, but because it told me something else. He thought he'd gotten away clean. And when someone like that believes they're untouchable, they get sloppy. If you've ever had a boss pull this kind of thing on you, hit follow or like. I've got the receipts. That night, I didn't go home right away. I sat in the office cafeteria, empty except for a janitor running the floor buffer, and pulled up my Outlook calendar. The invite was there technically, the same Q2 client dinner, placeholder Dale had sent a week prior. Only when I clicked, the metadata told a different story. Event created, 9:12 a.m. Wednesday. Event last modified, 3:47 p.m. Friday. The dinner had been shifted from Tuesday to Monday afternoon, 2 business hours before it happened. The guest list? Trimmed. The timestamp on my exclusion? Friday, 3:48 p.m. He'd cut me right before the weekend, so by Monday I'd have no idea. My stomach turned, not because of the pettiness, but because of how calculated it was. Dale wasn't just hedging his bets, he was manufacturing ammunition. If procurement renewal talks went sideways, he could pin the failure on me. If things went well, he'd claim the win for himself. Heads he won, tails I lost. But here's the thing about corporate sabotage. Systems keep better memory than people do. Deleted Slack messages survive in daily email digests. Catering invoices timestamp their confirmations. Even the security system logs badge swipes by the minute. If Dale wanted to rewrite reality, he'd have to outrun every server in the building. I thought about my rent due next week, the groceries I'd just bought on credit, the family group chat lighting up with how's work, texts I didn't want to answer. He had the title, the salary, the ear of leadership. All I had were spreadsheets and a gnawing sense of unfairness. But spreadsheets don't lie. So I opened a new folder on my desktop, gave it the driest name possible, Q2 to Events Notes, and dragged the calendar file inside. Then I pulled the catering confirmation email I'd intercepted when finance CC'd me accidentally, dropped it in too. One by one, I started building the file. The Outlook metadata screenshots, the Slack digest with the deleted Keep It Lean Monday message, the auto-forward from the client's assistant thanking Dale and team for moving the dinner earlier. Each piece was small, almost nothing on its own. Together, they were a story. A story I'd let him keep telling himself until the right audience was watching. By the time I shut my laptop, the janitor had finished the floor. The lights had dimmed to night mode, and the only sound left was the hum of the vending machine. I packed up slow, steady, not angry anymore, just cold. Dale thought he'd taught me a lesson about being left out. What he didn't realize was that I was taking notes. The next morning, he strolled past my desk with his travel mug and that same grin. "Rough night? Don't worry, we'll loop you in next time." I smiled back, polite, neutral, already filing away the sound of his voice with the rest of the evidence. Because if he wanted to play games with dates and dinners, I was going to play something else entirely. The long game. And that was the first night I stopped being his subordinate and started being his witness. People lie. Calendars don't. That line played on repeat in my head the morning after Dale smugged his way past my desk. He thought the whole "we had it yesterday" stunt was clever. To him, it was a checkmate. To me, it was a trail of metadata that couldn't be erased. I opened Outlook again, this time exporting the calendar file itself, the raw .ics data. Hidden inside those text strings were creation dates, modification times, even the server time zone stamps. Dale had edited the dinner 3 separate times in a 48-hour window. The most important one was Friday at 3:47 p.m., the exact moment he cut me out. 2 minutes later, another line. Reminder sent to attendees. That wasn't an accident. That was intent. The more I pulled, the more the picture came into focus. Badge logs from security? Dale swiped into the building at 5:42 p.m. on Monday, exactly when the new dinner was starting across town. Office Wi-Fi access points. They showed his phone disconnected at 5:48 and reconnected at 9:12 when he came back to pick up something from his desk. I hadn't even needed special access, just a polite request to the receptionist who printed the visitor badges. "Oh yeah, system keeps a copy for 30 days. Need me to reprint?" I smiled and said it was for accounting reconciliation. The receipts were piling up, and they didn't blink. But once you see the pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. There was the lost mileage reimbursement from last quarter, the one where Dale downgraded my claim to economy rates while upgrading his own to business. There was the client lunch where he told leadership that he had negotiated the venue discount, even though I had the chain of emails proving otherwise. And the kicker, a junior analyst quietly admitted that Dale had once accidentally scheduled him for 2 client calls at the same time, then written him up for not prioritizing properly. Same playbook, different victim. It wasn't just about me anymore. Dale had been gaming the system for years, trimming people out of invites, shifting deadlines just enough to make them look careless, then swooping in with the rescue. The company saw him as reliable under pressure. What they didn't see was that he was the arsonist. And then came the accelerant, a message from procurement. The quarterly business review, QBR, was moving up, in person, at our headquarters, next week. That room was where the renewal lived or died, and Dale would be running point, or so he thought. I knew what was coming. He'd frame me as the weak link, the guy who missed the dinner, the one who dropped the ball. He'd build his whole narrative on the assumption that I'd panic, defend myself emotionally, maybe even lash out. But he didn't understand that I wasn't panicking, I was documenting. I went back to my growing folder, added the badge log scans, saved a PDF of the Slack email digest showing the "Keep It Lean Monday" message Dale had deleted. Cross-referenced catering invoices, the vendor had time-stamped every phone call and delivery. Dale had called to move the dinner less than 3 hours before it started. It felt almost too easy, like watching someone bury themselves in real time. All I had to do was keep my mouth shut and my files neat. That night, I sat with a legal pad and mapped out what I had. Calendar metadata, creation plus modification times, badge logs, entry and exit Monday night, Slack digests, deleted messages, catering invoices, timestamped call records, prior incidents, reimbursements, write-ups, stolen credit. I didn't know yet how I'd use it, but I knew one thing. The QBR was my stage, not his. As I flipped the pad shut, my phone buzzed with a new email. Dale, CCing leadership. Reminder, my name will take ownership of the QBR deck this week. I expect a full draft by EOD Thursday. Let's make sure there are no surprises this time. No surprises. That was the line. The kind of smirk you could hear in text. Fine, I thought. No surprises. But compliance? Compliance I could do. He wanted me silent and compliant. I chose compliant. The QBR deck assignment was the perfect setup. Dale had packed it with contradictory orders. Keep it under 10 slides, but make it comprehensive. Highlight our cost savings, but don't focus too much on discounts. Add more client praise quotes, but don't clutter the slides. If I followed literally, it would collapse under its own weight. If I streamlined, he'd accuse me of ignoring instructions. So I did the one thing people like Dale never expect. You follow their orders to the letter. I mirrored his exact words back in my confirmation email. Copying leadership here so we're all aligned. 10 slides, comprehensive, focused on cost savings but not discounts, maximum client praise quotes while maintaining simplicity. It looked neutral, professional. In reality, it was a receipt with his fingerprints all over it. Then I got to work building the booby trap deck. 10 slides, each one dense, contradictory, almost comically cluttered, but exactly what he asked for. On the cover, the company's official template, with his name in bold under presenter. At the bottom, in the smallest print possible, prepared in collaboration with my name. Meanwhile, I quietly started laying the real groundwork. I booked the conference room for the QBR under Dale's name. Per policy, meetings with external procurement had to be reserved under the account lead. That automatically triggered invites to finance, HR, and legal for oversight. No way Dale could walk that back without drawing suspicion. I also placed a catering order for modest snacks, coffee, water, sandwiches on my personal card. Then I submitted a $0 reimbursement in the expense system with a note. Provided to clients to prevent disruption, no company funds requested. Time-stamped, logged, the kind of tiny detail auditors drool over when things go sideways. Every move I made was quiet, polite, unimpeachable. He wanted me to look like the problem. I was making myself the control variable. By Thursday afternoon, Dale swung by my desk, travel mug in hand, fake jovial tone dialed up to 11. Got that deck ready, champ? I clicked it open. Exactly as you asked. 10 slides, comprehensive, heavy on client quotes. He flipped through once, smirked. Bit messy, don't you think? I kept my voice even. It's exactly what you requested. I confirmed in writing on Monday. The smirk faltered for half a second. He closed the file, patted the desk. All right, we'll clean it up later. I'll handle the flow. Just keep quiet during the meeting, okay? Procurement likes a single voice. Understood, I said, and I meant it. I wasn't planning to say a word more than I had to. That night, I stayed late, not on the deck, but on my folder, cross-checking timestamps, archiving backups to a personal drive, even printing hard copies of the most damning files. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just meticulous. Before I left, I wrote one more email, short, bland, directed to the client's procurement lead. Looking forward to tomorrow's discussion. Please let us know if you'd like any additional attendees from our side. It was routine, nothing suspicious, but it put my name on the official record. The next morning, as I slid the catering order into the conference room, I thought about Dale's last words. Keep quiet. I smiled. Oh, I'd be quiet, because when you've set the stage right, silence speaks louder than shouting. He thought the room was his. He forgot the room keeps minutes. Friday morning, the QBR was staged like a trial without anyone realizing it. The long oak table gleamed under fluorescent light, the projector hummed, and catering trays lined the back wall with neat rows of coffee cups and bottled water. I checked everything twice, even made sure the Wi-Fi was logged in under the shared corporate guest account so the system would capture usage. Every artifact, every keystroke, every badge swipe was another page in a ledger Dale didn't know existed. Procurement arrived first. 2 suits, stone-faced, with laptops already open before they sat. Then finance walked in, their analyst carrying a binder thick enough to break a wrist. HR followed, a polite smile plastered on like wallpaper. And finally Dale, booming voice, travel mug and a swagger like he was about to pitch Shark Tank. He launched into his usual routine. Broad grin, a corny joke about traffic, the "we're all family here" line that never landed. Then he clicked the deck open and began reciting it, word for word, exactly as I'd built it. Cluttered, contradictory, unreadable. He didn't even notice procurement's eyebrows tightening with every slide. Halfway through, the lead procurement manager interrupted. Before we move on, I want to confirm something. You referenced this relationship-building dinner earlier this week. Who attended from your side? Dale straightened, clearly savoring the question. Of course. I hosted it personally. Just myself and our senior partners. It was a streamlined evening, very focused. We didn't want to waste anyone's time. The silence was surgical. HR looked up from her notes. Finance stopped flipping pages. Even the procurement analyst glanced at me. I kept my voice steady. For clarity, I wasn't aware of a Monday dinner. My last invite showed Tuesday. Dale cut in instantly, too fast. He missed the update. I sent the change on Friday. I can show you the invite. Please, procurement said, folding his hands. Dale pulled up Outlook, fumbling for the event. I waited until he had the invite open on the screen, then spoke softly. If you switch to Details view, you'll see the modification history. The room shifted. Procurement leaned in. Finance adjusted her glasses. Dale clicked, annoyed, then froze when the metadata appeared, created Wednesday. Last modified Friday, 3:47 p.m. Attendees removed. Looks like it was edited, procurement said flatly. That's standard, Dale stammered. Sometimes Outlook shows. I slid a printout across the table. The IC's export, the unaltered server timestamps, highlighted in yellow. These are from the server logs. It shows I was removed 2 business hours before the event. I didn't accuse. I didn't raise my voice. I just laid the paper down like it was another agenda item. HR's pen stopped moving. Finance's analyst whispered something to her manager. Procurement leaned back, unreadable. Dale tried to pivot. There must have been a sync issue. He probably missed the notification. The Slack digest also shows a deleted message from your account at 4:01 p.m., I said, sliding the second page forward. It referenced keeping it lean Monday. I saved the digest because it gets emailed daily. The projector hummed louder in the silence. Dale's face reddened, his voice climbing. This is absurd. He's twisting technicalities. But then the procurement lead turned, calm and sharp. We're less concerned about technicalities than about transparency, especially with a renewal of this size. And just like that, the temperature in the room shifted. The client no longer saw Dale as the charming fixer. They saw him as noise. I said nothing more. I didn't need to. The logs, the invoices, the timestamps, they were talking louder than either of us could. And in that moment, I realized something. Dale never would. The room doesn't care who speaks the most. It remembers who brings the proof. He raised his voice. I raised the original email. The moment procurement pushed back, Dale's mask cracked. He leaned forward, palms flat on the table, voice climbing an octave with every sentence. This is being blown out of proportion. A minor scheduling hiccup. He's turning it into some kind of conspiracy. HR tried to interject, but he cut her off. Finance started flipping through their binder, eyes narrowing as they pulled up a stack of expense reports. And then, right on cue, Dale swung his finger at me like a gavel. He's the problem. He's been underperforming for months. I've had to clean up after him more than once. Just ask anyone here. I didn't flinch. I just slid another document across the table, the original calendar invite, auto-forwarded from the client's assistant, thanking Dale and team for rescheduling. Time-stamped, Monday morning, 9:07 a.m. This came directly from the client's office, I said calmly. The procurement lead adjusted his glasses. So the client was notified Monday morning, but your own staff were excluded Friday afternoon. He let the silence hang like a blade. Finance's analyst cleared his throat. While we're here, there are also duplicate line items in the Q1 expense reports. Same vendor, same meal, same receipt, filed twice, once under his account, once under yours. He pointed straight at Dale. Dale's face went pale. then blotchy red. Clerical error. These systems glitch all the time. Funny, the analyst replied, because one of them had handwriting on the tip line. Yours. It was like watching a dam burst. HR spoke up next. We've also had complaints of meeting invites being altered. Several junior staff reported conflicting schedules, and one was formally documented as a performance issue. That issue may need to be revisited. Dale sputtered, words colliding in his throat, reaching for volume instead of logic. This is a witch hunt. You're all letting him spin stories because he's threatened by my leadership. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply opened my laptop, navigated to the shared folder, and projected it on the screen. Inside, every receipt, every Nike's file, every Slack digest, all neatly organized, time-stamped, backed up. This isn't a story, I said evenly. It's a record. Procurement nodded once, slowly, then closed his laptop with finality. Transparency is non-negotiable in our partnerships. We'll need to discuss next steps, but let me be clear. Retaliation against staff who document discrepancies will not be tolerated. The air in the room shifted again, and this time it wasn't subtle. Dale looked small in his chair, fists clenched around nothing. And then the quiet cherry on top. Finance confirmed the catering order I'd placed on my personal card. Unusual, they noted, but commendable, and the $0 reimbursement shows discretion. Procurement smiled faintly. Sometimes the small receipts say the most. I leaned back, silent. The job was done, not by shouting, not by outmuscling him, but by letting the facts speak until there was nowhere left for his noise to go. And in that silence, Dale's career started collapsing in real time. I didn't get revenge. I got jurisdiction. By Monday morning, Dale's badge didn't work. The news came quietly, no dramatic scene, no security escort down the lobby stairs. Just an email from HR. Effective immediately, Dale has been terminated for cause. Please direct all client communication through my name. I stared at the screen for a long minute, waiting for the satisfaction to hit. It didn't. Not in the way I thought. There was no victory lap, no rush of adrenaline. Just the hum of the office HVAC, the clack of someone else's keyboard, and a calm sense that a storm had finally passed. Later that afternoon, leadership called me into a conference room. Procurement had already sent a note praising the transparency and professionalism. During the review, the renewal was confirmed, signed, sealed, worth millions, and with it came their decision. I was being offered the role of account lead, with a retention bonus and full authority over the team. Any conditions? HR asked, pen poised. I thought of the juniors Dale had burned, the analyst who'd been double-booked, the receptionist who covered badge logs for me, the small favors people had given that he'd twisted against them. Yes, I said. Raises for my team. Transparent agendas. Expenses audited by finance, not managers. And a clause against retaliation. They blinked, then nodded. The pen moved across the page. Just like that, Dale's entire playbook, his tricks, his manipulations, his noise, was dead on arrival. That night, I forwarded the promotion email to my mom with a short line. Made it through. She replied with a string of questions, excitement spilling through the screen. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I opened my drafts folder where an unsent email still sat, the one I'd written in anger the night he told me the dinner was yesterday. I read it once, smiled at how raw it sounded, and hit delete. The next day, I led my first client call as account lead. No smirks, no sabotage, no second guessing. Just quiet, steady work. Procurement didn't care about fireworks, they cared about clarity. And that's what I gave them. People like Dale think revenge is loud. But real justice, it's boring. It's in the receipts, the logs, the quiet compliance that piles up until it becomes undeniable. He raised his voice. I raised the record. And in the end, the record won.